biggest South Asian media group, Y Media.
Hello everyone, my name is Yudhir Jaswal. I'm the group editor at Y Media. As we all know, June 10th, we are going to have the by-election in Mississauga for the new mayor. Pony Crombie, she left her position and now she's the Liberal Party leader for Ontario. And we will elect our new mayor on June 10th. And among one of the candidates, we have Carolyn Parrish with us. A very warm welcome on Y Media.
Thank you very much for having me.
You are very welcome, and just for our viewers' benefit, I'd like to tell you that Carolyn Parrish, she has been in active politics for almost more than 3 decades as a member of parliament, as a councillor, and here she is as one of the contenders for the mayor. Why would you want to run for the mayor of Mississauga?
Well, I've enjoyed working under Hazel and under Bonnie, and it's not a triumvirate of women. It's I've been on council longer than most of the councillors there now. We had 4 new ones this year. I think the city needs a steady hand and to continue the growth and just running the city the way the former 2 mayors did it. I've sat through both of their terms and enjoyed it, so I thought, okay, this is my year to do it.
Okay, and if you get elected as the mayor, have you noted down that these will be my top 3, 4, or 5 priorities?
My top priority is housing, and you know that. It's everybody's top priority right now. Finally, people are noticing. Mississauga is the only city in the GTA that lost 40,000 people since the last census. Everybody else is growing, and it's because we're too expensive. We have to have more reasonable rent and buildings built that are affordable. And we need to expand our residential buildings. So that's number 1. Number 2, especially with the car thefts now, police are very front and center. And I will be sitting on the police board and watching everything that they're doing and giving them what they need to do a good job for our citizens. And the third one, sometimes it's transportation, but I'm finding right now we have a very large seniors population and they're underserved. So we need to get special reductions for them to use community centers during the day when they're the only ones there. We need to get them free bus fare. I brought in $1 bus fare 5 or 6 years ago. It needs to be free. They've paid taxes all their lives here. So those are my 3 top priorities right now.
Yeah, you spoke a little bit about housing, and yeah, Mississauga is one of those cities actually surprises me with losing population in this city, and you mentioned it right, but Toronto is also expensive, so is Vaughan, so is Markham. It's not Mississauga, something out of the ordinary, but why are we losing population in Mississauga?
Because we haven't been building fast enough. Okay. A lot of the developers go through the whole process of rezoning, getting their property ready, putting their plans in, get them approved, and then they sit on them. And I think part of it's not their fault. I think the high interest rates are inhibiting them. I think the cost of condo units gone way through the roof here. And I just think we're sort of built out, so we don't have undevelopable land anymore, or developable land, I'm sorry. So what I'm looking at is areas that are zoned incorrectly, in my opinion. In Ward 5, have 163 acres north of Matheson up to Derry, right on the LRT. It's all zoned office. Nobody's building office space anymore. So I need to bring in the guys who own those properties and the ladies and say, look, if you're willing to put in as a component to your building what you paid for that land in 1990, I'm willing to rezone it mixed use, put in a mid-rise building, make it affordable, and then you can put stores and shops around it. That'll be fine. The ones that say, no, I'm going to use the current price of land, you can just stay office for as long as you want then, because nothing's going to get built.
Okay. And what do you think, because everyone is looking at inflation, affordability.
Yes.
So what's your take on that?
Well, I think if you can get a reasonable accommodation and it doesn't take up more than 1/3 of your disposable income, everything else falls into place. You have fewer people using food banks. I do a fundraiser every year. I raise about $257,000 last year, and I give it to all the small food banks, and they're crying for help. So I think if you've got affordable rent, then you will be able to afford your groceries. You'll be able to afford transit or a modest car. You'll be able to afford to clothes for yourself and your children. It all comes from putting 50 or 60% of your income into housing.
Okay, And you've seen the recent poll numbers.
Yes.
You're leading, and Y Media Main Street has also done poll surveys. So you've seen that as well. Your comments on that?
I'm very pleased to see it. I think initially the polls we saw were because I have high name recognition, as you said in your introduction. I've been a school trustee for 2 terms. I've been in Mr. Chrétien's government for 13 years as an MP, and I've been a city councillor for 13 years. So name recognition is the first polls. Now we're getting into issues. You're getting fewer undecideds. You're getting more committed voters, and they're sticking with me, which makes me really happy.
Okay, and other than this, what is something that you think that Mississauga, I've heard your priorities already, that this is something other than the normal priorities, inflation, housing, crime, that this is something that this is my idea, that yes, I want to leave something as a legacy?
I've already built 1/4 of what I want to leave as a legacy. Up in Malton, we converted an unused swimming pool into a youth hub.
Okay.
It has a dance studio, it has a recording studio, it has a teaching kitchen, it has counseling upstairs, drug counseling, health counseling, all kinds of things, job counseling. And the kids run the place. We've got 10 students from each of the 2 high schools and their board of directors. It's an incredible place. It's $12.7 million, which is peanuts. And the police have told me in Malton that since the hub opened in October, the crime has gone way down. All the petty crime, all the pickpocketing, all the whatever was going on before is much better, but the kids are happier. And we actually feed 250 kids a day who go all day with no food. They have no breakfast, no lunch. So my dream is to build 3 more of them. And I think I can get sponsors, so it's not going to be tax dollars. I think I can get sponsors because one of my big sponsors of the Malton Hub came to opening and he was blown away. And we've had 32,000 visits clocked in there. We have 1,240 kids, card-carrying kids that belong there. And we built a big track in the back, artificial football field. It's a place kids can feel safe. They can go there up to 10 or 11 o'clock at night. They can go on weekends. A lot of them have parents that have 2 jobs, 3 jobs. This is a place for them to go. So I would like to build 3 more of them in Mississauga.
Wow, that's amazing. As much as I love this, and certainly it's a great idea. Other than, have you ever thought like Toronto and Vancouver now there on the map at the global stage because they're hosting the Soccer World Cup. This year we have the Cricket World Cup in Caribbean and in US. It's the first time in history the Cricket World Cup is coming to US mainland. There are going to be massive matches in New York and so many other places. What do you think about Mississauga? A fantastic arena or a world-class stadium?
Oh my goodness, you're touching my heart. I have tried for the last 5 years to build a soccer stadium up on Highway 10, right at Derry, where the airport noise, you can't build residents. And I couldn't get council on side, but I'm going to try even harder now that I'm mayor, because it's a perfect location. It's right on the LRT. And you know all the kids that come in from Europe, from Asia, from all over the world. They don't need expensive equipment to play hockey. They need a pair of shoes. They need maybe some soccer pads so that they don't hurt themselves, and they need a little bit of equipment. But it's one of the things I did when I was in Malton is Nav Bhatia, the super fan. He wanted to build an outdoor basketball, an NBA basketball court. And he couldn't find a place that would accommodate it. So he built an NBA court right in Paul Coffey Park and 3 practice courts, 3-on-3 courts. And he tells me it's the only court in North America that's never been vandalized because it's in his colors, it's got his name all over it, people love him. So a long answer to your question is I want to build a lot of things for kids. And I want to build a soccer stadium. I want to reproduce the basketball court in the south end of Mississauga. Again, sports keep kids healthy, but sports that don't cost a lot of equipment keep them healthier because they can participate even if they can't afford all that other stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a good legacy to leave. You have a world-class soccer stadium and then
Right
4
on.
other places, vacation center. Okay. Now, another part is that Mississauga, it's a very diverse city, as many other GTA. We've brought people from both sides of the fences from across the globe, right here in Canada, in GTA, in Mississauga. How do we make sure that, yes, we discuss as much as we are in tune with what's happening back home or any other parts of the world, Now it's Canada first, it's GTA first, Mississauga first, and let's work more and focus more on the issues there. How do you integrate people?
Well, I think we are well integrated, to be honest with you. All through Ramadan, I was going to iftar celebrations. I went to Vaisakhi last Sunday. I think our groups blend well, they get along well, and they respect each other. And the best way to keep it that way is not to bring the fights from back home here. And I've been all over the world. I've been to Pakistan, I've been to India for one day. I've been to the Middle East 4 or 5 times. I've been to all over European countries as our NATO rep in Canada. And I bring back a lot of knowledge that you understand the various groups, so you can understand what they come from, and you make sure that they're comfortable here, their religion, their language, their customs are all respected.
Okay, and another point on this one, on diversity, we've seen protests happening, and this is not the first time. They will happen in future. They've been happening for many, many years. And by the way, definitely recognize protests are very much an integral part of any democratic setup. But do you think we could have some specific places, that here are the designated places you could come have protest, and but with that, the security challenges will be less? That way we're not disrupting any person who is going to school or hospitals or those areas or even religious places. Now the mayor of Vaughan comes up, there is a ban on coming to this place. The federal government comes up, there is a ban in front of this place, hospital or religious places. So here we have specific places. You can have media there, you can provide them water, nobody's dehydrated, an ambulance is stationed there, and the most importantly, we do not give this place to 2 opposing groups, and we don't have major issues. We already have crime escalating, and the police is busy, arresting them or making sure this things doesn't happen. How's that?
Well, Celebration Square is public.
Okay.
You don't need a permit to be there.
Okay.
I can remember after one of my trips to the Middle East, I came back and there was a big Palestinian peaceful demonstration there. They weren't objecting to anything. They just decided to do a sleepover to raise money for a local charity. And we probably had 1,500 Palestinians there, and there were little tents set up. Some of the kids slept overnight. But it's a piece of property in our city everybody paid for. Nobody has to get a permit to use. On the weekends we have festivals there, and they're blocked off. But generally speaking, on 5 days a week, you can protest there. And I found that a lot of the protests that are done here in Mississauga are quite different from Toronto. They're peaceful. You don't get a lot of difficulties. The police, you don't even need a lot of police there. They're there if you need them. So I don't know if Mississauga is generally a more peaceful place, or if there are those people that go around and they purposely go to all of these things and they cause trouble. I've been to some of these events and seen, you can recognize some people. They're just there to cause trouble. But I've found particularly this current issue with the Palestinian or the Gazans and the Israelis, the protests here, we've never needed police. We've never had any violence. So I think if people, as you say, have a proper place, they know if you go to Celebration Square on a Tuesday evening and you want to hand a candlelight vigil, you're welcome. It's your square. And I think we have to keep doing that.
Okay. And another is, how would you attract more businesses? There are many cities in the world. They're trying to make that attracting businesses, investment, making that as an innovation hub, especially with technology, artificial intelligence. How would you do that with Mississauga?
Well, we're already doing that. We have about 40 Fortune 500 companies already have their head offices in Mississauga. I think the last 2 mayors did an incredible job attracting them here. You're really not allowed to induce them financially, but you can make a case for our transit, which we've improved and are going to improve further, for excellent shopping, for hopefully affordable housing. But you have to be able to attract the companies, and you're competing against other places in the world that are actually able to give them incentives, financial incentives. So you just have to build the case that Mississauga is a good place to be. And I can remember when I was an MP, the big Quebec separation question happened. And a lot of the drug companies, the pharmaceutical companies, moved to Mississauga. And we have an area in Meadowvale called Pill Hill. And that's where a lot of these companies landed. They're very happy here. We have a well-educated population that they can attract employees from. So I think the city itself attracts people. It's a good, quiet city. Despite the car thefts, which are horrible, We have a very good track record on crime in Mississauga. We're always one of the lowest crime centers. So I think you build a family-centered community and it attracts people.
Since you already touched crime, let me talk to you about that. What do you think? There's a discussion going on regarding car thefts and even break-ins now. So what would you do? I'm sure, as you just mentioned, you'll be sitting on the Peel Police Board as well.
I'm going to be going with Patrick Brown and Annette Groves, and they're the two other mayors in the region. We'll go to Ottawa, and we're going to demand, in a nice way, because we're not rowdy characters, we're going to demand that the federal government install scanners at both of our ports. If you couldn't ship those cars out and sell them for enormous amounts in the Middle East, in Africa, in parts of Europe, the car theft would stop. And we only check 4% of all the cargo going out of the Port of Montreal and the Port of Vancouver. In the United States, they have scanners in all their ports. You don't read about the US having a terrible time with car thefts. And it's getting a little crazier because people are actually breaking into houses to find the keys. And I've also been told by the police services that a lot of them are paying kids, 16 to 18-year-olds, to steal the cars. They pay them $500, and then they take the car and they make $50,000 on it. And that's a terrible way to use children. Their police records are shorter, they can be expunged, and they get arrested and they're out the next day. And so sitting on the police board might help, but I think our chief of police is doing an incredible job. There are some announcements coming tonight about picking up some of these rings that are stealing cars. But the question for me is why, when we're a tenth the size of the United States, do we have triple the car thefts? It's because our ports leak, literally. And if you just put scanners in, every cargo that goes through, you see a bunch of cars inside, you pull it aside, ask the people for their paperwork, then they're not going to gamble that they get through. If you're only catching 4%, it's a good gamble. Just load the cargo and away you go.
Right. And I know healthcare more of a provincial and a federal matter, but still, once you become, if at all, you become the mayor of the city, do you think everything is fine, or you need some more support from the province or the federal government?
We need a lot of support from the province, and I think what we need also is a bit of teamwork, as I started to say, with Annette Groves in Malton and with Patrick Brown in Brampton, and hopefully myself here. I think we go to Queen's Park more often, and we go as a unified group. We're not fighting to separate all that stuff that was going on before. We're working together. I get along very well with both of the other mayors. We've been on regional council together for a few years, and I think we just get organized, and we become a pain in the neck for Doug Ford for a while and say, our people need better health care. Now we're getting a brand new hospital down in Mississauga. Brampton's getting a new hospital, but they're a long way off. And I think we need better services with more nurses. We also need doctors with credentials from other countries to be recognized more quickly here. A lot of them have excellent training, but they have to go through all kinds of hoops to get their practical license. So those are things we can talk to the province about and we can advocate for.
Yeah, talk about getting the foreign trained professionals recognized. I remember there was a press conference by Joe Walpe, Judy Seguro. From that time till date, Dalton McGuinty, I've been listening. I've attended at least 20 plus press conferences, and every time they say that here we are going to recognize the foreign credentials, but it never happened.
But you know, the foreign credentials aren't actually a matter of the province. They're a matter of the associations. The Doctors Medical Association have their own little sets of rules. The one group of professionals that have come through and recognized credentials very quickly is the professional engineers. Yeah. They broke that years ago. So if you come here in Canada as a professional engineer, you get your credentials pretty darn fast to get a job. So I guess you have to talk to the province and say, even though it's up to the individual professional associations to grant licenses, maybe we could incentivize them to do it more quickly.
Okay. And do you think your finances, I'm sure everyone wants more money, there's always some sort of infrastructure deficit going on, but do you think the property taxes are enough, or you want more ways to generate money? Anything you want to talk to the federal government or provincial government regarding the finances of the city? That's
a really good question. I've never been asked that on this. The City of Toronto has a whole bunch of little different perks that they can use to collect money that we don't have. And we're a big enough city that I think we could lobby to become a partner to Toronto and say we'd like the same privileges. There is one candidate that's promising zero tax increase, and you and I both know that's not possible. You've got to repair community centers, you've got to repair roads. If people want the standard of, and we're getting a lot of seniors saying we need more police. We need to see them on the roads. We need to be able to have them answer our call quickly. So you're not going to get a zero tax increase out of me, but you are going to get a very careful monitoring of every cent all year long, not just at budget time. And you are going to get me lobbying heavily with Mr. Ford or whoever's at Queen's Park to give us some of the same non-tax privileges to raise money that Toronto has. We're big enough.
No, okay. I wish we had more time, but anything else you want to add before we let you go?
No, I appreciate the work you do. I appreciate the fact that you're using a really good polling company, because some of them are way out there. And I would really like to be the mayor and spend more time here talking to you.
Thank you so much, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. And we'd like to tell you that we will be continuously doing interviews with all the different candidates as well. In case you are watching this interview for any other candidate, please feel free. There's a number at the bottom of your screen and an email. Please send us an email if any candidate wants to join us. We will be providing time here at Y Media. And we are conducting regular polls with Main Street. So Y Media Main Street poll survey, another one is coming out tonight. And we will be carrying on doing that. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the time. Thank you.
The biggest South Asian media group, Y Media.